Hey, folks, glad y'all could join us again. I'm your host, bad guy,
He's
Cujo
not the
Brown.
bad guy. I'm the bad guy.
He's the
That's
bad guy,
Cujo.
Cujo. And we are in the Cypher. Thank you, folks, for joining us once again today. We'd like to get this in. We got a little extended conversation on your man, Bad Bunny. I think this is long overdue. I think the work that he's done is just, I mean, it's just great work to see somebody out there really putting out a lot of solid work to basically counter some of the bad music that's out there that's
Well,
propagandized to some
yeah,
degree.
so I was gonna say, I think where you're going with this is he's putting out music, knowing the kind of music that you like, he's putting out music that actually has a real message behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, and don't get me wrong, your man got plenty of music glorifying the party life, the sex life, all that. But he also has a nice amount of music and he mixes them too, because the song that we wanted to talk about last week, El Apagón,
Mm-hmm.
there's a chunk of that song where he's saying essentially he loves Spanish pussy, he loves Puerto Rican pussy. Me gusta what is it? Me gusta la chocha de Puerto Rico. Me gusta, right? So that's exactly what he's saying.
Right, right.
It's a whole little chunk of the song, but the song itself has a lot deeper meaning because if you watch the video, it's really talking about how or showing you how Puerto Ricans coped with the power outage, the outages, but more specifically, I think it was the one around Hurricane Maria, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, yes.
Yeah, that was a bad
So,
one.
yeah. Um, so even though it's fun music, it's party music, it feels like it has a behind. And
Mm.
that's rare these days. It's very rare that you get music that is good and has a message.
Think that's a great point, man. I don't see too much of that happening now because of, the industry, and we all know how much a lot of these corporations have been bought out by a lot of these companies, or a lot of musicians get caught up on these contracts and get stuck only producing a certain type of music to be put out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely a change, and the fact that he's on another level when it comes to this, when I say that, I mean he's on a level where he's international, so he doesn't have to depend on just the Americas. It's not that America is going to put him in this crazy great position that was never going to happen if he didn't do it
Well,
with
he
America.
doesn't need, I mean, in his current, in what he's doing right now, obviously he's going to have fan base here, but he doesn't need us as a location to tour. And you and I have talked about this in a slightly different context before. A lot of these old, what we would consider great hip hop performers, artists, they don't tour the United States at all because there's really no market for them. But
Nope.
they make tons of money
Money.
overseas.
Yeah, yeah. They do good overseas. And he's one of the prime examples of somebody that understood that there's more to
Hmm.
the world than just him, and than just America's. Like,
Yeah.
he understands. Because I'm sure he goes to Canada and does well there too. That's not even a
Yeah.
it's not even a joke. 110%.
During the protests that they had down in Puerto Rico for the previous governor, Ricky something, he cut short or postponed his European tour. He was all over the world at that point to come back to Puerto Rico for those protests.
Mm.
He was there. It was him, was Ricky Martin was there, and Residente. So just for anybody who doesn't know, Residente is an older, you could put him in the reggaeton genre, but only because he speaks Spanish over, trap and rap beats. But he's really a rapper. He's a rapero. He's not a trap rapper. And he's another dude that has a lot of meaningful context in his songs and a real message.
Yeah, I think that's a plus in the aspect of what Puerto Rico is doing, is what I have to admit reggae music still has, but is not. Let's say dancehall is just a different facet of reggae music when it comes to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the rockers music and the roots and culture reggae is the reggae that you heard from Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. That's what we call that. That's roots and culture, where they'll
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about things that are in Jamaica that happen, and how they relates to other people, similar to what Bad Bunny does. And that's what great makes great music, man.
Yep.
That's what really does,
Well,
you know?
another good example of a different genre, but somebody whose music was like that was John Lennon.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. very much so.
And it's about that rare because, you know, you name 3 artists, we've gone through 3, it's hard to find a lot more artists that fit that mold.
Nah, you're not going to. You're not going to. I don't think so. I think you're gonna search and you'll find some dope artists out there. You'll find some entertaining artists,
Mhm,
but they all have to watch their tongue more. They have to be
mhm.
very careful who they talk about and why and all that other stuff. Because
Yeah.
even with Bad Bunny, one of the things I'm wondering, I'm like, I wonder, is he going to talk about Israel at one point? You know, is he going to
Well,
talk about
okay, so
Palestine? I wonder.
that was the question I was gonna ask you. What exactly does talking about Israel consist of? And I'm not trying to defend anyone. I'm
No,
wondering,
no.
does speaking out in support of Palestine count? Because that's obviously an anti-Israel position, or are we as the American people looking for politicians who are distinct, or even, you know, cultural leaders who are going to specifically denounce Israel?
Well, I don't think you could talk about Palestine and Israel and be honest and not denounce them. I
Okay,
just don't
so
know
that's my point.
how does that, I don't know how that
Well, no,
works.
because you can speak in a pro Palestine tone without specifically saying Israel is the problem. Semantics.
think think you're right, but I do think that you do have to understand that the Zionists are going to look at you and go, "No."
You're not wrong about that. They're not going to sit there with semantic games.
Yeah, they're just going to go, "Hell no. Nice try." You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not going to go down like that, unfortunately. So yeah,
Bro,
we you could
if you tell them that, what is that shit that they sell in some soup? Gefilte fish? If you say gefilte fish is nasty, they're gonna tell you you're an anti-Semite.
I think where we're going with a lot of things when it comes to Israel is that I think the relationship that people in the world have had with the history of World War II is not as clear to most people as far as like what people that are Jewish have gone through prior to that. And I'm just keeping it real. Like prior to that, they went through a lot of stuff as well because they've been I don't even know how many
Oh, they've been
countries
at
in
the
Europe.
shit end of they've been on the shit end of a lot of sticks.
Exactly. And that's the part that when I hear people talk and say things about Jewish people and then go, well, they own all the banks, which is not true. They
Yeah, no, you
they run
see,
all
I have to fall. Don't get me wrong. I'm very anti-Zionist, and I find that I have to make that distinction nowadays. I am in no way anti-Jewish, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm in the same way that I'm Christian, so I'm pro-Christian, but I am not pro-Christian nationalist, right? Like
hmm
once you start taking your religion and you try to involve politics and you're trying to guide politics by your quasi-religious belief, I'm good.
So circling back around, do you think Bad Bunny is going to ever say anything? Because I think it's a very difficult space to be in because there are powerful people that are Zionist in the record industry. And
Yes.
that could harm him in
Leor
to
Cohen.
some yeah, that could harm him. Absolutely. There are a few of them and that could harm him to some degree. And it's a scenario where you still want to get your message out, so you want to be careful. But eventually, if you're going to keep telling the truth, you're going to get to that truth. It's almost inevitable.
So I would like to think that we live in a world at this point where one, he's already got the fame, right? You might be able to curb his reach, but you're not going to silence his voice.
hmm
If he says something that Leor Cohen or whoever doesn't like and gets him dropped off of a label, some other label's going to pick him up. I mean, the guy got started on SoundCloud, right? So he's going to get his music out. I would hope that that gives people enough courage to speak out. I mean,
I unfortunately, sorry, finish what you were saying first. Go
I'm
ahead.
not confident in it. I don't.
See, there we go.
Yeah, no, 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 no. Look,
There we
if
go. Because look, and I'll say this. This is the thing. When I saw what happened to, and this is just another artist, not an artist that is quote unquote a singer. This is Dave Chappelle. When I saw what happened to Dave Chappelle, how he was marginalized so easily, people believed that he was on crack, a man that
mm-hmm,
lived on a
mm-hmm.
farm in Idaho. Like they believed he went crazy and didn't know how to handle the money. when I started to understand how easily, and these are his so-called fans, these are people that are the fans, the fanatics for
Mm-hmm.
him, can't even stand by him based on a rumor. They haven't heard a word from him, nothing come back. But you know what? It's probably true because, it's coming from the media. When I understood that, I realized that anybody can get it. Anybody's
Yeah.
up for grabs, bro.
All right. First of
Anybody.
all, the entertainment industry is so much more like wrestling than you think it is. Because what you just described is wrestling. The
Hmm.
booker, the person that runs it, decides who's going to be a bad guy and who's going to be a good guy. The crowd doesn't decide that. The wrestler doesn't decide that. That's the booker. And
Hmm.
then that's all psychology. They go out and do things to make you upset. They know how to get the crowd to react to what they want. And if a carny ass fucking wrestling promoter knows how to do that, Hollywood elites, we're talking about people that run networks, their entire revenue stream is based on manipulating people to buy products they advertise.
Mm.
They know. What was it that
Yeah.
I heard they did with him? That they told him that his show made too much money, so they couldn't honor the percentage they told him in the
They
contract.
told him they contract. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
What does that mean? What does that mean? So what's the point of the contract?
Yeah, exactly.
And, it makes you realize like everybody, again, is up for grabs. Anybody can get it. Like, again, that's just how it works. And
Look,
that's what, but
contracts only bind the employee of the contract. The employer there's almost always a way out of a contract for an employer because they have
they
the
created it.
money. Well, they created it and they have the money to litigate it,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
If you try to get out of a contract, the company you worked for was paying you, so they got more money than you. They're
mhm,
going to be
mhm,
able to afford more legal hours than you.
mhm.
It's literally how Trump ran his fucking businesses.
Yeah, yeah. And there's to some degree, there's some serious issue. I mean, and again, circling back around to Bad Buddy. Hey, folks, by the way, like, share, subscribe in the Cypher Podcast. Thank you, folks, for being here with us. It's just something to be mindful of the fact that that there's a lot of power behind these artists that some things they can't control. And that goes
Mm-hmm.
with somebody big, just like not even Drake, especially Drake. You got all your big artists, your
Well,
Jay-Z's, your Drake, your J.
I was
Cole.
going to mention in the acting world, Pedro Pascal, because he's pro Palestine, but you can't find anything about him saying anything negative about Israel.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
And I guess that's the line that they need to balance for the sake of their career. They need to balance
Absolutely.
that line. It's a shame. But
Yeah.
if Saudi Arabia is willing to pay you $1 million, it's okay to go there and do some stand up.
Yeah. He lost a lot of people with that, I think.
A lot of people lost a lot of people with that. You know
Yeah.
how
He
many
lost.
comedians they had go out there, bro?
Yeah, he lost a lot of people with that because it means like ultimately like okay, like you're
You
willing
have
to
a
play ball for
price.
any and every yeah,
Yep.
you have a price. You're willing to play ball for any and everybody. Unless
That's
you take
also Chappelle. You're talking about Chappelle still, right?
yeah, that's Chappelle and that's a
The
bunch of other comedians.
that set though, which was kind of funny, is when he does the how you'll know if Israel. You haven't seen it, have you?
No, I haven't watched it because I kind of don't want to support him anymore because I see him as more of a capitalist and he does and says some of the right things in order to keep playing, keep saving face and playing the role. But ultimately, like, it's very noticeable that he only cares about his bottom line. And I'm not negating and taking things away from him saying that he's wrong for some of that. I think he's right for some of that because, again, how many people does this guy probably support? Like, how many people
Well,
are
not
like,
even
yo,
that. Keeping it real, right? Keeping it quote unquote real got him in the position you were just talking about, where his own fans turned on him the moment they were given any reason to.
and that's where I'm like, look, I get it. I get it. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that he's making those decisions to go that route. And that means that he can only be trusted so much in certain spaces. Again, this is not to bash him because I know that he supports a lot of people. For him, he has a team, he has an entourage, he has people left and right live and die by him because their kids need to eat. So he has to eat. You get what
So
I'm saying?
you know how over time you've convinced me that more and more of the structure of this country is based in racism. I'm
Yeah.
going to convince you one of these days to not trust anyone. You've just described exactly why I have no faith in anyone that is making money in the media.
Well, I never said I trust anybody. I don't know
Not
what you
trust. I
mean.
mean, but not even like I don't. Dave Chappelle. When I found out Dave Chappelle was going to Saudi Arabia to do this, was I disappointed in Dave Chappelle? Yes. Was I surprised at a capitalist making capitalistic moves? No.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're in agreement there. I've never had the inkling, like my perspective, especially when it comes to individuals and looking up to anybody. I've long since understood that one of the worst things you could do, especially in this country, I think in general, but in this country, is have the perspective of looking up at an entertainer, an athlete,
Yeah.
anybody, and even now with somebody like Norm Chowski, right? Like,
Yeah,
y-
dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And some of his commentary from his letters are utterly disgusting, especially in regards to women. But it doesn't take away from the things that he's contributed, but it also makes you look sideways and understand that, yeah, he's limited because he was always bought. He was already bought. But that's the reason why you look at the person's work, you respect their work and their craft, and if they could stand by their work, it's even better. But it still doesn't mean that they're not fallible.
Well, I mean, I guess as a kid, you learn that lesson with athletes, right? You look up to them because of their achievement, and then you find out that your favorite linebacker smokes crack with fucking underage hookers.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
poof,
can't,
the dream's gone.
yeah, I can't say anything else. But I've known so many guys that they had a delusional perspective
That's a red flag for me. That is a
about
red flag
sports,
for me. Yes, that is a red flag for me.
you know.
Don't get me wrong. I love sports. I love watching sports, but any adult, I won't even say man, any adult that puts an athlete or for that matter, anybody that's famous or even rich on a pedestal, that's a red
Problem,
flag. That's a red
problem,
flag.
problem. I do agree, and I've met so many people that look up to entertainers, and
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, and I'm just like, why? Like, you don't know what this person does in their free time. You don't know what they do, and you're having this complete trust in them. That's just doesn't make any sense. But again, that's part of our conditioning, and that's one of the points that I'm making is like the conditioning of Americans and other
Mm-hmm.
people overseas and abroad is to kind of look at athletes, entertainers, people that make money that they could
Mm-hmm.
see and go, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to be. Not
Mm-hmm.
understanding what it actually takes to get there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And not understanding that you're only seeing the highlight reel of these people's lives, right? You look, not nobody knew, but it wasn't common knowledge that Michael Jordan had a gambling problem until years later.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh man, this nigga's like a real fucking gambling junkie. And I used to look up to. That's why it doesn't. As a child, I get it, right? Because you don't have any idea of a life achievement outside of games because you're a child and that's all you do is learn and play games. But to be an adult, or even like women that look up to other. I'm not saying every famous woman isn't admirable, but if you're looking up to them because of their fame or because of their wealth or because of their influence, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, that is 110% spot on. I mean, let's face it, like sometimes people look up to different people for different reasons. You know, people look at Jay-Z for different reasons. People look at Beyonce for different reasons. People look at Oprah for different reasons, but oftentimes if those people didn't have the wealth they amassed, they wouldn't be anybody to really pay attention to. They'd just be an average. And
Hmm.
that's the thing that I say is that those people have been selected by the dominant society, white people, to go, they're safe.
Yes, yes, yes.
These are the safe Negroes. So we could put them up on a pedestal and they could idolize these couple Negroes here.
Well, those are the ones that were willing to play ball with the system.
Exactly. Exactly. So you now look at, what you say with Bad Bunny, and he's playing ball. There's no getting around it. Getting on the Super Bowl
Yeah.
is not, but I don't know how long he could continue doing what he's doing without eventually, because eventually it's going to spill over, like I said, this happened to the famous athlete slash actor slash singer, Paul Robeson. Paul
Yeah, you were
Robeson
telling me you were talking about that last week.
Yeah, Paul Robeson experienced this and it destroyed his entire career. Gerald Horn has a great book on this and speaks like so much in so much detail about like what transpired. And that's one of the big things is that they just once they found out he was a socialist, kind of like a communist a little bit, and was like pro-black, they were like, nah, he's a black nationalist. Nah, we're not feeding this guy.
Mhm.
He was making bread. Like he was one of the richest athletes, richest entertainers back then, and it just went
He
all
got
away.
blacklisted.
He
Yep.
got blacklisted, and even and to take a pause, even the term, right? Think about it, blacklisted. I
Mhm.
mean, words, man, words are important, but that's what they did to him, and they destroyed his career. And that's what I say. This can happen to anybody because Paul Robeson was like the way they compared him today. It was like Michael Jordan mixed in with Denzel Washington.
God damn.
Yeah, yeah. That's the type of person he was, bro. He wasn't a little dude. He was a big. He used to be a football player, played rugby, star athlete, all of that. Like he just had it. It was just
What the man giveth, the man taketh away. And you don't get to those points without whatever their color is, whatever their religion is, somebody in a place of power needs to give you that access.
right, right. So
And they
now
have the ability to remove you from that access.
exactly. So now you got to take that into consideration and then say, damn, look, if the money comes, at what cost? Right? At what cost? What are we looking at?
See, but I think the answer to that question is, are you in it for the money? Because if you're in it for the money, then there is no cost too high.
Well, I think that's true. But I do think that it's tricky because only because if you're able to take those finances and help people along the way, it really changes things.
But it doesn't mean you're in it for the money. Your goal isn't the money. Your goal is in our case, our goal is to have a good podcast, right?
Hmm.
If that brings money, then that's great. But it wasn't about the money. We didn't sit down one day and was like, yo, it'd be a great way to make some fucking money. That wasn't the goal. So there's going to be, things that people might offer us money to advertise that I'm going to be like, no,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't do it to get the advertisements. So I'm not bound to your advertisement.
Yeah, Pornhub, sorry guys, we can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's just
Especially
real
me, I
talk.
can't because I can't even get into that shit. And I ain't paying no fucking VPN. So fuck y'all. They outlawed that shit in Florida.
Oh wow, that's wild, man. Oh, by the way, side note, folks, while we're on internet and porn, fans, the biggest consumers of OnlyFans are in New York City, and it's predominantly Long Island, Brooklyn.
Really?
They consume the most OnlyFans in the world. Yeah, you go check that stat out when
I
you got
would
some
like
time.
to see a similar statistic for where most of the OnlyFans providers come.
I think what do you mean? The people that are actually doing the content?
Yes.
I think there's a heavy amount coming from New York City as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Because the thing is, and I've had this conversation many a times, which is you have to understand every single beautiful woman and some beautiful men come to New York City thinking that they're the most beautiful person in the world
And then
because
they
in
find
their
out they not.
exactly, because they live in their town, their little village, their little city, and it's a
Hmm.
I don't even know, a 2 or 3 mile city. Who cares? Doesn't really matter. No disrespect to them. Just saying
It
it
ain't New
is what
York.
it is. And then you come to New York and you're like, the person that's on the train across from you that's just going to work, she looks prettier than you. And you're going to a modeling event. It takes a minute for some people to comprehend and understand. And there's gonna be there's a curve there. There's a learning curve where you have to realize like I'm gonna have to do more than just look the part.
Hmm.
Actually, you got to show up. You got to be a step ahead of everybody else, and you got to make sure that you're there and fully engaged because sometimes you know how it goes, man. we sit down and do our 9 to 5 jobs, but our minds are not engaged in the job as much because we may be thinking about a sick child,
Mm-hmm.
schoolwork that needs to be done after we finish to go over with the child. Like we could have so many things. Got to take my lady out for holiday, for Valentine's or something. There's so much going on, and that's really a difficult thing for them to do. When you come to New York City and you realize like there's a plethora of distractions. You can get distracted by your distraction.
Yup.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's tough, man. I got to tell you, we know how it was because we used to ride the trains. You know, you go
Yeah, but
here.
we also grew up in that high bandwidth environment.
True, true. Our brains are wired different. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You're right about that, brother. You're right. You're right.
Like down here, even when people are in a rush, like people are in traffic, and I'm sitting there in traffic, and I'm like, shit, this is traffic, and I'm like, but this is not volume traffic. Like when everything in New York is intensified. If you're
Hmm.
used to crowded trains, the trains are more crowded in New York.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You make a great point, man. I think that's the truth is that the city is harder and faster. So anywhere, that's why if you take your job, whatever job you have in New York City and you go somewhere else and do it, it's cakewalk compared to
Mm-hmm.
New York City. You know, and no knock to other states and other people in other countries. This is just something that tends to happen frequently. I'm sure there's nuance to that. I'm sure there's other places where it is busier, but overall, in a grand scale, New York City has a lot of volume when it comes to work and how fast they want it done, when they want it done, and how. You know,
Listen to
so that
me. If you flip burgers in New York and you go down to Texas, you are a burger flipping champion. You are the employee of the
yeah,
fucking month just off of the amount of volume you have to do. When my wife came down here, she was working in New York. She was working in a psychiatric clinic, one of the biggest psychiatric clinics in the city itself, but it was located in the Bronx.
right.
And she was essentially running all of the doctor scheduling. She came down here, got a job, and they were like, oh, this is, a really intense job, high volume work, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't even like a fifth of what she was handling in New York.
Nothing. It's
Yeah.
nothing. You
Me, when
know,
I took the job that I got, right? The job that I got now, and my boss knew that it was going to be a lower volume of work than what I was used to, but he had no idea how low that lower volume was, bro. Because it's like, don't get me wrong, I have days. This week was real busy, but it was more busy cleaning up messes than actual work. But it's not like the from the time I turn my computer on to the time I turn it off, 100% slammed with work type shit.
I do think one of the things, and this is circling back to Bad Bunny, one of the things I think is interesting, I ask myself is, how would he have fared if he was like in New York City trying to become an artist that he is now?
Mm,
You know, because there is a heavy, heavy Latino population in New York City. I'm sure people know. So he would have gotten some light. You know, he would have been promoted. Now, the only thing that's tricky about New York City is like, would dudes have hated on him in the same way? Because
well,
part of the problem, I'll say, with New York City artists is they don't band together enough.
mm-mm, no.
You know, because especially with hip hop, we saw that 110% because New York City was dominating the hip hop scene for decades. And then
Mm-hmm.
what happened essentially was the West Coast and the South started putting out music, but they were all sticking together,
Yep.
especially the South. You know, groups like
Well,
Outkast.
the South kind of, took, I don't know timeline wise, but I know what you're saying. The West Coast rappers kind of banded together, but the South took that even more serious where you started getting these tight knit crews popping up like Master P had No Limit Records.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the South was totally different because I think the thing about the South was the exactly what you said basically. And I'm sorry, I wanted to actually name the groups, which was Outkast, the Dungeon Family as a whole,
mm-hmm,
which was Goody Mob, Slim Calhoun,
mm-hmm.
whatchamacallit again. There was a couple of other dudes in there that I miss on that, but Dungeon Family and Organized Noise, by the way, came to work with LaFace Records, making a lot of hits, and LaFace Records made a lot of money because they made
Yeah.
They made a lot of albums for people, bro. The Organized
Hmm.
Noise made the song for TLC, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. And that was their, I don't even know. I think that went diamond or something. I'm not even
I
sure. But
saw a recent video of uh LA Babyface Reed singing all the songs that he helped produce and create.
mm,
So he was singing all sorts of different people's songs. I had no idea how many songs that he helped create. I was like, yep.
yeah, yeah. He was in there for a minute, man. He was doing a lot of work. But he also, unfortunately, I have to say that he did some work that I didn't respect too much. And that was the fact that he basically did the same business strategy that all the people from back in the day did, right? Like back
Hmm.
in the day, they robbed all the black artists, every
Yep.
artist, Elvis included in that, folks, by the way, Elvis included in that. And that's the same strategy, the same playbook that L.A. Reid and all the rest of them did, including Diddy, including
Yeah, but
any
they
other.
all learned at the foot of people who made their fortunes doing that.
Yeah, robbing people, specifically a lot of black entertainers. And that's why I'm saying is that unfortunately, as good as the music they put out and as good as the stuff he did was, I still kind of look at it and go, would I do business with somebody like this? You know what I'm saying? Like if they came to us and said, yo, in the Cypher, like we love to do X, Y, and Z, can we really, based on their history, think that they're going to treat us in a just fashion?
No,
They're going to do
no,
us dirty. They're going to
yeah,
do us 110% dirty, bro. So that's the reason why again, I look at what people do and accomplish, respect it. However, my judgment is, are you a good person?
see,
Are you a decent human being? Like I could do business with you still if you're not, but I have to do business with one hand behind my back because I know you're going to stab me. I got to watch out. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that goes back to sort of what we've talked about before with your DSA meetings, right?
Yeah.
And with these people in spaces where our interests are in common here, but we have to accept the fact that when our interests aren't in common, these people won't really be allies. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be difficult to turn down large sums of money for, whatever product it is that you're churning out. But the fact that you're getting offered those large sums of money means you're profitable. So at that
Yes.
point, is it all about the money?
Mm-mm.
If you're
Mm-mm.
willing to sell out, it is. If you're not, then, it isn't.
I think that's you make a good point there. This is one of the things and then we're circling away a little bit from Bad Bunny here, folks. This is getting a little bit heavier. And one of the things I'll say was I was really concerned in these meetings because I think I could see why the left has such a hard time because the right will stick to their points and will ride their points out through thick and thin. Like
Hmm.
they will ask you, and I was just speaking to my lady about this. They will ask you, they'll go, "Hey, I got this boat and I have this is a direction that I'm headed to and that's my destination right there. Do you want to come on?" And they'll know whoever's coming on, they'll know that yes, this is racist. Yes, we're capitalists. Yes, we're vultures. We'll pick off the poor. Yes, we're not going to apply health care to other people. Yes, we're doing all that. But if you want to get on board, you can get on board. I'm giving you that offer. And then the person that's getting on board will go, well, I'd love to get on board, but I know you guys are racist and I got this Indian wife, i.e. JD Vance. And he'll go, well, all right, fuck it. You can come on, man. Let's go. As long as you're good, you're good. As long as you follow, you follow. And then you get somebody like the next person, like Peter Thiel. Like, yo, I'm going in this direction, right? We homophobic to the fullest. It's LGBTQ, everything, you name it. We're capitalists and we're trying to make money and enslave most of the world. Are you good with that, Peter? Yeah, I mean, I got that. I'm gay and I got a husband and everything. And I don't worry about it as long as you with the plan. Peter Thiel gets in the boat and they all go in the same direction. The other half, the so-called left, does not have that same ideology.
Well, but
They
we've
do
talked
not.
about that before. Is the problem with the left is that we have these ridiculously difficult litmus tests to pass. And if
Hmm.
you're not for one of those things, then we can't deal with you.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes it so hard to actually get things done, to
Listen to
actually
me,
be
mark
organized.
today's date. I can predict right now if AOC runs for president or even when she does run for Senate, if she does not stick to every left wing talking point that she spoke about during her first campaign, you will see one, you'll see the right try to essentially drive a wedge between her and her supporters on every single little one of those details. And you will see some of her voters peel off because she's no longer the perfect candidate.
Yeah. I've seen some of that already because I've seen her do town halls, and I saw people coming after her in the town halls, and she wasn't having it, bro. She was like, people were coming after her going, "What are you going to do about the immigrants? What are you going to do about the immigrants?" And she just stood there for a second and was like, "All right, so tell me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do about the immigrants. Tell me how much they're interfering with your life." And Bob, she like went off.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't have a tongue that just sits back.
No.
She went off. And I was listening to it and I was understanding why she was doing that. And the reason being is simple. It's just that, yo, you guys don't understand what the real issue is. Well, having a conversation with you and explaining to
Yeah,
you.
well, I'm not going to let you gaslight my fucking event.
Yeah, she's like,
That's
I'm not
literally what
doing
he was
this.
trying to do, trying to
Yeah,
gaslight the entire event.
she's like, I ain't doing this with you. You know what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? And I really respected that, and I understood why she fell back a little bit. And that's a skill set. But I got to be honest with you. What you spoke about earlier, this was something that I do think is important, which is when I speak to people and they're in support of the deportations and they're in support of Trump, I can't look at them the same way anymore.
Mm-mm.
I can't. And I had and this is something that bothered me to a great extent yesterday, is that I got into an argument via text with somebody about, some of this stuff, and I was just disappointed at his responses, and I was like, all right, man, chill. We good. We don't need to get into it. And then he proceeded to like try to lambaste me and disrespect me, and I'm like, yo, bruh, like let's not do that. Like we could talk, but let's not do that. And what happened? He started talking and was like, yo, last time we talked, I did such and such and did X, Y, and Z, and you was whining and everything when you called me. And I was like, yo, B. And I
What?
thought to my, yeah, that's not what happened, by the way, bro. What
No,
happened?
and if you're arguing with the type of person I think you're arguing, I know exactly what it is. Anything that you say is whining. If you point out if you point out an inconsistency in the argument, you're whining. I'm whining because you're wrong and you just presented an inconsistency. That's not whining, that's pointing out you're wrong.
Inconsistency.
I'm supposed to sit there and just listen to your bullshit and be like, okay, because everything else I do, you're gonna call it whining.
So this is one of the things that I said to him. I didn't say it. I left it alone. I was like, yo, man, honorable men go with honorable men. That's why I'm not talking to you. Because I know you're not. Like I don't have anything else to say. Like there's not much else for me to say though, brother, right? Because because the time that I called him and I spoke to him, and this is something that is very important for people to understand, and I want everybody to really understand that everybody should have their boundaries set, even with their closest of friends to their distant friends that they barely contact and speak to. You should always have boundaries set. And as an individual, and I could speak to it as a man, we as men know there's certain boundaries you don't cross with each other because it could lead to a physical altercation. And unless you're willing to die for what you're talking about at that point and at that moment,
Yep.
you might as well shut the fuck up.
Yep.
That's just what it is. But it's important to also minimize the conflict. And that's what I did in that scenario, because he was saying that I called him and was complaining. But really what happened? I called him and I said, yo, what's going on with you? He copped the plea and he said, yo, I'm just joking. I'm just messing around. You know
Well,
me, I'm
but
just
that's another
trolling, blah,
trait.
blah, blah.
No, you see, that's another trait that they have is the moment that you confront them. And to be honest, I don't know the person you were talking to, but that's bully behavior. I'm going to talk
Right.
down to you, and the minute that you stand up for yourself, oh, I was just joking. Oh, I was just playing around. I was just kidding. One, we're men. We don't do
that.
That's not a way that you play. Even boys don't play like that.
They
That's
don't
not
play like that, bro. They don't play like that. You understand? And so he copped a plea. And I was like, you copping a plea? I said,
So
yo,
he went from questioning your honor, essentially what he was doing was questioning your honor, to copping a plea when confronted on it. Okay.
exactly. So that's why I can't take him seriously, because I know that if I see him, he's going to cop a plea. This is a guy, and this is a guy that I've known since I was in elementary school, that when fights broke out, he's the biggest guy there. He ran out the room. If we were in the schoolyard and a dude's hat got stolen, he ran out the schoolyard because he didn't want to get beat up. He was just that
Big.
guy.
He was just a big guy. Yeah, and I know
He's
I've
scared.
dealt with plenty of guys like that.
He was just scared. And there was nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being scared. But I'm the guy that got in the fights in the park, and you've seen it and heard it, and you're
Yeah, but
confronting me?
scared is a chemical. The difference between
You.
it's scared is adrenaline. It's just how do you
Yeah.
react to your adrenaline
Yeah.
rush?
Yeah. You know what
Apparently,
I'm
your
saying?
man's reaction to it is jetting.
Yeah. I tell you, man, like I couldn't believe it, but I told my lady today I was feeling like De Niro in Heat, where
Yeah.
De Niro's driving to the hey folks, y'all know this movie, man, and De Niro's driving with his girlfriend now. They're about to head right off into the sunset and catch this flight, and he's just
Mm,
driving, and he's like, and just turns the car and he
I
heads to the
gotta go
freaking.
back and do this thing.
I gotta go back. That's how I feel about it,
But that's
and I
good.
think.
Yeah. But again, he questioned your honor. And for anyone out there saying, "Oh, he didn't question his honor," yes, he did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is literally what questioning someone's honors, and that's not a man thing. That's just a human thing, right?
Right. Right.
And then to just take that about face the moment you were confronted, if anything, it proves that he was full of shit and trying to call you out because he's exhibiting that exact behavior once he's confronted.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why, again, on a bigger spectrum, on a macro, this is one of the things that we have to avoid on the left, which is these small infringements that could blow up and
Mm-hmm.
cause more disruption within our organization. Because if something can be avoided that doesn't need, like, there's no good that was going to come out of me arguing, going and back and forth. And when we get into these spaces, we have to understand and take care for that. Because if you recognize there's nothing good coming out of it, don't waste
Don't waste
your.
energy on it. Yeah.
Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Even in the DSA meeting space, right? If you've got someone who's coming and you know that they're there to to cause that friction.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Mm-hmm.
minute that you waste dealing with that person is a minute less that you're dealing with the reason why you're there. So,
Exactly.
the first time, second time, maybe, but once it becomes a habit, either you're going to ignore the person or you're going to ask them not to return.
Yeah. And not returning is probably the best thing.
Yeah.
Probably the best thing.
It's going to be, we're going to ignore you. And then somebody at the end of the meeting is going to be like, I don't think this is the place for you.
Exactly. This is a lot. There's a lot to learn on this, man. There's a lot to
But you're
learn.
right.
But
You're right about boundaries in the personal sense and in the sense that you're speaking about with the larger groups. If you're not willing to set boundaries, people are going to keep testing those boundaries. And if you
right,
don't set them, they
right,
just keep getting pushed.
right. And that's the big part, is like understanding, like, yo, what ticks you off and why,
Hmm.
and then making sure that that doesn't happen again. This is indicative of a lot of things that we all deal with, on a day-to-day basis. And it is important, because it happens at the workplace too. We all know that.
Yeah.
110%.
Yep.
Happens at the workplace. So, but that's my personal anecdotal for today.
It does happen in the works. I've had not the thing I was telling you about earlier with my boss, but I've had these other experiences where somebody will start a chat with like their manager and try to put me on the spot. And it's like, as soon as I say so, as soon as I present my side of it, everybody's like, oh, honestly, everybody gets like, Smith in the park after Neil flies away, where they all look at each other and then walk away. That's how they get, bro. Because look, I'm not loud at work. I'm not loud. I am not. I don't seek attention. But if you're gonna try to throw me under the bus, you better make sure I'm fat. You better make sure there's a lot of space under that bus,
Bad guy letting it be known.
brother. I ain't going easy. If I'm going out, I ain't going easy.
No, but it's real though, right? Like, why would you want to put yourself in that position and then get mistreated on top of that? Like, well, you don't have to. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to deal with people mistreating you and having to actually, have that stress on your head, because
Yeah,
that's happened
because
to
it is
me.
stressful. It is
Yeah, that's
stressful.
happened to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's a time and space for all of that, bro. Time and space for all of that. You know, in the Cypher podcast, folks, just getting into some other form of politics. You know what I mean? Some other form of politics. But like, share, subscribe, and let's drop something in the notes. Anything you want, and just questioning and or asking or saying whatever you want to say in regards to that. Because I think that was important, by the way. Because I think people deal with that on a day-to-day basis.
Yes,
You
they
know,
do, man.
you know.
It's just a condition of the world we live in. It's unfortunately how a lot of people interact with other people in this world.
Yeah, and that's again learned behavior. That's
Yeah.
learned behavior,
Yes, yes,
man.
yes, yes.
Learned behavior, bro. Because I tell you, I've seen it with my youngest to my eldest, where people pick on them, and then I had to teach them how to fight. Then once I teach them how to fight, the whole game changes. Like it's
See, and that's
just
the thing that don't get me with people who allow themselves to be bullied. You don't got to be able to win every fight that you have. Once
no,
people see
no.
that you're willing to stand up for yourself, they're not going to keep fucking with you. I'm not saying
Mm,
you're never going to get into a fight. I, knock on wood, have not been in a fight in like 20 something years.
Same,
But
same.
nothing about me says that you want to fight me. So,
Yeah, yeah. I gotta admit, like that is a great thing because depending on the circle you're in, will depend on, how comfortable people may feel saying some slick shit out their mouth
hmm
and actually coming for you because that's one thing I recognize is like there are spaces you definitely have to make sure you balance yourself and stay out of them because you can't deal with people that are going to push buttons and try to get you upset all the time because it's life is already tough. You already got the heavy lifting to do.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, 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 no. I've got no time in my life for people like that.
That's what I'm
None,
saying.
none.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the big thing is like we're going to have so many problems if we don't really fall back and like check some of those things because those things are heavy. Those
hmm
things are heavy right now.
I've got a friend of a friend down here, and he is exactly like that. Like he's always his idea of a good time is putting people down. Somebody is always being put down when he's talking or when, but it's just constantly just negative, negative, negative. Even when you talk to him, I'm from New York. Sarcasm is like fucking,
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah,
mother's titty milk. But there's a certain way you can apply sarcasm and it's enjoyable. But when you're just being a dick all the time,
yeah,
so I don't hang out. I could go ride bike with these dudes. I know I could have a good time. There's always smoke and there's always weed. They're always fucking all over Ybor and downtown Tampa. I know I'd have a lot of fun, but I don't want to have to deal with that person or people like that. So I just don't
yeah,
go do it.
yeah, yeah. And I can't blame you because that energy, I don't think it translates to positivity and making yourself and your life grow because that's one of the issues I've had is I can't front. Right now, I'm like, dag, like I need to figure out how to make things grow. And if I'm going to do that, I can't be around the negative dudes. I can't. They're
Well,
just,
because you got to think about it. It's a double waste of time, right? Because you're wasting your time spending time with those people, and then you've got to carry that negative energy with you. Like, in the example I was giving, I would come home after that, and even if I had a good time, just that negativeness of the energy, I would come home and some of that would bleed off at home.
mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
The next day, I'd probably still have a little bit of that negativity in me. Some of that might bleed off at work. And all of a sudden, now I've got that negative energy affecting me when I'm not even with the person that produced it.
Exactly, exactly. That carrying over is major. It's major. And the only way to really offload it is to offload it to somebody that deserves it or to
Offload
actually
the
do
person that's producing it.
exactly, offload it on the person that's producing it. And that's a big thing that I think you got to do. You have to let the person that did it to you, let them have it because you don't want to be in the position where you're actually dealing with this crap and have it on your mind all day. Hell no.
My
Hell
brother,
no.
I've learned late in life, better late than never. It is much more valuable for me to cut the person off than to nurture a relationship that is not beneficial.
Exactly. 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 And to your point earlier, that's one of the reasons why I I actually am like I'm dropping out of so many group chats, and I don't know how if anybody else is dealing with this, but that's what I've been doing. Dropping out of group chats because I don't need to deal with that. Like I realize like, dang, this is not good energy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not helping me in any shape, way, form, or faction. So
Yeah.
what am I doing here? I
You're
don't
just not to sound like some hippie mystical, but you're just giving negative energy more avenues into your soul and into your house.
mm-hmm.
See, and to
Mm-hmm.
me, the that's the most important thing. Because, like I said, with these dudes I'm telling you about, I would have a fucking ball, but I'm gonna come home and sacrifice what's going on here for that, and it's not
Mm.
worth it. Not even
Yeah.
a little bit. Just to have a little bit of fun is not worth a little bit of sacrificing the peace and harmony that we have here. So why would I do it? What sense does it make?
What sense does it make? Exactly.
Me and my wife are Puerto Rican. We got enough negative energy of our own that we fucking direct at each other for no reason.
Don't say that. Don't
No,
say
not
that.
negative in a bad way, but look, me and my wife don't need no help having an argument. Me and my wife don't need no help fucking mean mugging each other. So why am
Right.
I going to bring more energy in to the house that's just going to feed that shit?
Yeah. Yeah. I get you, man. I get you. I get you. I'm right there with you, bro. Right there
Mhm.
with you. Trying my best to stay
Speaking
clear.
of negative energy, I'm going to try to do the like, share, and subscribe to In The Cypher Podcast. Your girl, Pam Bondi. Who?
Yeah, she's a piece of work, bro. Piece of work.
But the
Piece of
Dow
work.
is over 50,000.
She's a piece of work, man.
First of all, the next time I get pulled over speeding, because she was the AG of my state, I will be letting the state trooper that pulls me over know that the Dow is over 50,000. I don't know why you're concerned with my speed when the Dow is. How's your 401k?
That was horrible, man. It was
Dude,
horrible.
I know I just almost pivoted into Pam Bondi, but I think I have a bigger umbrella. The Floridification of the office of the president. Pam Bondi, Acosta in the first term, Dershowitz, and there was another name that I wanted to mention today. But all of these Epstein hovering around the event, Florida people are now essentially running the country.
It's true.
It's wild, dude. You know, and I don't want to say nobody's talking about it because I wouldn't have heard about it if no one was talking about it. But I don't see enough people making the point that the she was the attorney general of the state when Acosta gave that sweetheart deal to Epstein. The she had over 200 complaints against Epstein
Yep, that is correct.
and did nothing with it.
Hmm? Nothing. Nothing.
Not
There
to
was
mention, not to mention that she was also one of Trump's attorneys in his first impeachment.
mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
man, the
true too.
swamp. Jeffrey Epstein is the fucking swamp.
I think what there was something you sent to me earlier today, and this was an excellent, excellent like synopsis to some degree, and it went to a macro, which is that the whole world has been like this for some time.
Yes.
And you go back to slavery, that's same thing. Like they all were doing the same thing. They were all sexually molesting children. They were all pedophiles in one way or another. All these people.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Jefferson sleeping with a slave that was like damn near a woman that was enslaved that was damn near like I think she was 16 or maybe 15, might have been younger. It's all been there for a long time, and now it's bubbling up to the surface. But this goes back even before the Americas were set up. This goes back to, or Western civilization here was so-called set up. It goes back to European times. This
It
goes
goes
back to
back.
Greek times.
Yeah, I was gonna say it goes back to Greek and Persian times.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, uh
yeah.
the Greeks used to be patrons to younger boys.
Yes.
But and when I say but, I'm not making an excuse for it. It was a cultural thing. It was a cultural norm. It doesn't mean that they weren't taking advantage of, children, but this was accepted societally.
Hmm.
And it's not the only deviant style behavior. And I'm not saying homosexuality is deviance. Preying on
Hmm.
children, preying on barely whatever your country or whatever your time period thinks is legal, preying on barely legal children. There's no such thing as a barely legal child. Barely legal adults is just as bad as preying on somebody who is almost an adult, right? There's really not a gray area there. Or if you were waiting for somebody to turn 18 to talk to them, that means you were waiting before they were 18 to talk to them.
That's wild.
Right? Right? But am I
That's
wrong?
wild.
If
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
and I don't hang out with a lot of people anymore, but I've heard plenty of guys in my life say, oh, man, I can't wait till she turns 18. My nigga, that means you're thinking about fucking with kids.
yeah, yeah. That
You
dude is
just
wild.
you just not doing it because the law would fuck with you.
Wow. And I got to tell you, I've heard that as well, and I've just kind of been like, oh, word, like I don't want to hear nothing, like because dudes used to be like, nah, son is. They wouldn't say anything to me, but I distinctly remember one time I've had a friend say something sideways to me about messing with little children, and it wasn't like directed at me. He was saying it out loud when we were at a parade, and was like, "Yeah, yeah, niggas better
Uh,
not say, nobody better say nothing if I'm,
nah,
talking to
son, nah, we
somebody."
saying everything.
And I was just like, "I don't know about that, son.
We saying
We're not
everything.
good."
And I don't mean in so much as we telling the cops. Me and you are having that talk right now.
Yeah, I gave a look like with my eyebrows up, like, I don't know about that, bro.
Yeah, my
I don't know
brother.
about that.
Nah,
That's
son.
that's not how it's going down because that's not what it is. Because it's not. Look, there's a lot of literature on this stuff, but the reality of the situation is coming and dealing with this and circling back around to Pam Bondi and this whole pedophilia ring. The part that's difficult for me is the fact that they've now kind of, as we'd like to say, they've made things a little bit hard and conflated things and made
Mm-hmm.
things a little bit more confusing
Yep.
because ultimately now you have a scenario where you got a bunch of information out there. None of it is really that clean. You know what I
Which is
mean?
the intent. That is
That's
literally the whole
that's the
intent, right?
full intent of it, 10%. And now you're kind of stuck trying to put pieces together of big, like this
Did
big
we
puzzle.
did we talk about it the other day? So I have done my fair share of skimming through those files. But what you're finding is you'll see the same email 5 or 6 times, right? You're seeing the ASCII version of it. You're seeing the fully dressed up Gmail version of it. You're seeing the reply
Hmm.
chain version of it. And it's just, it's just constantly over and over again. You'll run a search for a term and you'll get like, say 100 documents, but of those 100, there's really only 3, right? And then um in searching for stuff, it's just such an overwhelming amount of data that a normal person who doesn't have any kind of incentive to really sift through it is just it's gonna get overwhelmed.
Exactly. And that's the whole purpose. So that's the reason why, to a huge degree, I think that we have to put some onus on good independent journalism. And based on some of those things that we get from that, then you could do some more research on your own and contribute to some of that information we're getting.
Hmm.
Because I think that that is really the best way to go. I think people are trying to have, we're trying to have like random people that have a 9 to 5 kids doing all this stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see some new citizen journalists pop up out of this whole mess.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is journalism is a space right now that is definitely a bit conflated with people that are trying to be journalists. But I do think there is some space for people to actually contribute. I'm not saying that they should be honorary journalists, but I think that in their own right, they are,
Hmm.
not to say they have the degree or anything like that, but they are contributing. That includes us, in
Yeah.
our own way and right, because we have insight in things technologically, culturally, and, politically that we
Yeah.
we have to take note of. So I agree. I agree. One of the things I was going to ask about in the Cypher podcast, folks, like, share, subscribe, put us on your area dial. You know what it is. So one of the things I like to touch on was what we spoke about in regards to people involved in the Epstein files and trying to like hash out who exactly is involved and why. And I think one of the things that's difficult is, and I think that America is having a tough time with, is that all the other countries are actually doing
Yep.
things except for us.
Is it Sweden that the crown princess is being investigated, and now her son is also under investigation?
Man,
Yeah, bro.
man, that's crazy.
Prince and well, the former Prince Andrew, dude, the funniest thing that I heard, somebody said that Prince Andrew has fallen so far that he's now referred to as Andy from Windsor. So, yo, when I heard that shit, I almost fucking died.
Man,
So
that's the truth.
Andy from Windsor, I don't know if you saw the photographs they got of him after he was taken in for questioning. He looks like he had the living shit scared out of him. Whatever happened in that police station for I think he was there for 12 hours, they scared the life out of that man.
It's that.
It's really wild to think about this, but it might take European investigations and European journalism to blow the lid off of this American administration.
I think you might be right, but I think they might be scared too. There's some of them that are scared. I will see.
I don't know. I think they've had it with him. I
Mm,
don't think he's done anything in the last year and a half to garner any kind of sympathy from them when it comes to this. I think that Europe is completely fed up with him. I mean, the path that we're on, he's going to try to minimize Europe and essentially leave it to the whims of Russia.
true, true. I think one of the things that's scary is Marco Rubio's speech we spoke about, and I think
Mhm.
that is one of the things that should be of concern because he's perpetuating the same type of ideologies from the past, which is not even I don't even think he's trying to aim for neo-colonialism. I think he's just aiming for straight up colonialism.
Colonialism, yes,
Yeah, he's
yes.
just going straight in, and that gave
They
a
envision a they envision a world where Western powers rule the entire globe.
Exactly, exactly. The problem with this is that the technology, like we stated before, and everything else is upgraded tenfolds. So, and the surveillance is at a whole nother high level. So
Mm,
this is going to be a tricky thing, but it's all about compliance. And as long as we keep complying, these things will keep happening, and there will be no change in the game.
until
Well,
we
things will
set
just get
some clear boundaries.
there we go, right? So now that being said, now going back to what we were stating about people in Europe actually taking aim, what do you think they're going to do or could do towards the Americas to actually affect, the power regime here? Like
What
I'm not
could be
sure
well,
myself.
just information.
Hmm.
They're gonna have access to some of the information they'll have access to is information that has been redacted for us. Right?
Mm,
So just that information alone is something that the administration from their own actions does not want out. American businessmen or women or politicians were found to have been possibly doing illegal things in one of their countries can be investigated,
hmm.
right?
Hmm.
England just investigated the murder of one of their citizens in Texas the other day. They don't have the
Mm.
power to go into Texas and arrest the guy, even though he's a former citizen of their country, but they did run an investigation and their findings, hold weight over there. If he ever goes back to England, they're going to try to grab him on a murder charge.
Got 'em. I like that. I'm a
I
fan of
mean,
that.
I think the international court has like a warrant out for Putin, and it does affect him. He can't travel to a lot of countries because there are a lot of countries that are willing to honor that warrant.
Now, what I think is going to be interesting going further is like, share, subscribe, folks, in the Cypher Podcast. What do you think now in regards to the relationship that the Americas is trying to really establish with Russia, though? Like, I have never seen this in my whole entire life, a regime that's actually trying to make friends with Russia. I've never
So
seen
like
that.
like I like to mention whenever we talk about Russia and the United States, the only two people who were right about this, I voted against. Well, I voted for Hillary the second time, but the only two people who were right about this were Mitt Romney and Hillary Clinton. Everybody else laughed when they said Russia, Russia, Russia. But it is Russia. And I am taken aback by the apparent cooperation between our current administration and Russia, but I'm not surprised by it.
Mm.
Like we spoke about the other day, I think Russia had a lot to do with utilizing the kind of compromising information that a Jeffrey Epstein would have been collecting.
Mm. He did meet with them as well. That's the fact.
Yep.
That's a fact.
We mentioned that before too. He was Putin's money manager or one of his money managers. And since we're on the topic of Russia, Russia has been making bank off of all of the, not all, but some of these warehouses that ICE have been buying.
Yes, yes, which is insane when you think about it,
They just
because
made
these ICE detention
$100 million.
centers. Go ahead.
Like I said,
No, go ahead.
they just made 100 million. Some Russian oligarch just made $100 million profit on a $29 million warehouse.
Yeah, yeah. I remember. That's the one in Georgia. And there's more, and there's more. And also, the other aspect that's interesting, right, is now they're whatchamacallit again. There's another one they're trying to do here in New Jersey, and people don't want it. Like
Dude,
Mikey
people don't want
Sherrill,
these all over the place.
yeah. So Mikey Sherrill actually put laws into place to actually stop them from building and having some easy time. Like she's the first person. I'm so shocked that New Jersey, I can't believe this, is the only state that really has, like, when I say this, folks, I mean Mikey Sherrill has laws on like that she's just put into place, and she just got into office this year. New York State doesn't even have anything written down solid against ICE. Neither does Connecticut.
Mm-mm.
Neither does Philadelphia. Of course, not Philadelphia, because that guy's a nut job. But none of the governors anywhere else have put in the anything. Not Chicago.
No,
No, I think Chicago does. Actually, I take that back.
Pritzker in Illinois. I think they did pass some kind of statewide legislation about letting DHS buy facilities there.
I think so
I
too.
know
I think so
he
too.
was one of the first. Not to jump down on a side note, but the
Go ahead.
Supreme Court just shut down Trump's. First of all, did you see that petulant press conference that he threw after the Supreme Court handed down their decision?
No, no. But
Go
before
ahead,
you
go
go
ahead.
into that, it is the common states, the states that actually have laws limiting ICE cooperation are California, Colorado. Connecticut does have something. Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, Washington. A lot of East Coast, a lot
Are
of
they
East Coast in on
counting?
this.
Are they counting cities when they say New York? Does that mean it's just New York City, or is it
It's
New
New
York
York
State?
State. New York State. Yeah.
But is it a locality in the state, or is it the entire state?
No, it's a lot of, it's basically a stating like these all many of them are sanctuary policies because they're
Executive
sanctuary
level
states.
decisions to make
Yeah,
sanctuary states.
yeah. Refusing to honor ICE detainee requests for taking
Mm-hmm.
them, blocking information sharing, prohibiting local law enforcement from participating in 287. Like there's a seems to be a lot going on there that we may have to dive into. Not may, we will dive into. But back to the press conference you spoke about over Bitch Boy's
Yes.
complaint.
The SCOTUS knocked down his ability to levy these tariffs, which, just for all clarity's sake, he never really had the ability. He was maneuvering legally around Congress's duty, not even right, their duty
Yes.
to decide whether or not we levy tariffs. They have to decide, Congress that is, on any spending of money. If
Mm-hmm.
America spends money, it has to be approved by Congress, not the
Congress.
president, not Russell Vaux, not fucking Steve Bannon or fucking Azrael on crack. What's his name? Fucking Stephen Miller,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
None of those people make that decision. The problem we have right now is that the people who are supposed to make that decision chose to give him that ability by not stopping him. All Congress had to do was say no.
Mm-hmm. And they not doing that, bro.
No,
Not doing
definitely not
that.
Mike Johnson.
Nope. Nope.
Mike Johnson, I don't know if you guys have seen Anchorman, but Steve Carell's character in Anchorman is probably the stupidest person ever portrayed on screen. That is literally who Mike Johnson reminds me.
There's somebody else in the cabinet. I forgot who it is. That man, he talks so slow, but you could tell that he has some issues. Like he might have no disrespect to anybody who's ever had a stroke, but I think he may have had a stroke or something like that. Like I don't know, man. I gotta look him up real quick to find
Yeah,
out
you gotta
again,
let me know who
folks.
that is.
You know,
Not Steve Nutlick, right? Lutnick, whatever
no,
the
no.
fuck his name is. Dude, that motherfucker's lied about being in the Epstein file.
With
Then we
Scott
found
Bissett, Scott Bissett.
Scott Besson.
That's it. Yeah, he is, man. When you hear that guy talk, you like, you know, he was in the special class.
Yeah. He sounds like he's trying to cover up for something linguistic.
Every time I hear
Very
him, I'm like,
measured speaking.
he seems like he's doing two things. He's trying hard to lie, number one. Then number two, on top of that, he's trying his best to actually circumvent like, facts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then his language, I'm just like,
Have
man,
you
this
ever
dude right
watched
here.
have you ever watched Besson give a press conference or take questions?
But yeah, it's horrible,
He
bro.
constantly has this look of being a hostage on his face.
Yeah.
Like he wants
Yeah.
to be anywhere but in that seat answering those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I like him, man. He's hilarious. He's hilarious. I don't
He
know.
just Biden something. They asked him something. I think the job growth numbers this month were 1.4. And when they asked him about it, it was Biden's fault.
Of course. That's
Every
how it
every time
always.
every time Trump shits his pants, one of his staffers tells him, "Oh man, Biden shit your pants again."
That's a crazy thing. That son is. I don't even know about that, man. That's a conversation we got to have again about Trump's.
Watch yesterday's fucking press conference. He looked like a bloated fucking corpse.
Yeah, he's done for, man. I don't know if he's gonna make it the full 3 years. I don't know. If he does,
I
it'll.
think he
I don't
will,
know.
man. That kind of evil, the kind of nastiness he has inside of him, that shit
The
don't
kind
die easy.
that hate lasts forever.
You want to know?
I
You
don't
want to
know.
know when he'll die? When they finally try to prosecute him.
He may be right. He might just go. I'm gonna just go anyway. I'm gonna get out of this.
He'll go. It'll happen naturally. Somebody will off him, but
I don't know if anybody's
he's
gonna
getting the
kill him,
best.
man.
He's getting the
They've been doing a bad job. They tried a couple times. They did
They
a
didn't
bad
try,
job.
man. If you think that Butler shooting was the real deal, and I hate
I don't
jumping
think so.
into conspiracy theories, but your man has a better healing factor than Wolverine.
Because his ear.
His
Yeah.
ear, first of all, if anybody wants to go up and look up, not necessarily ballistic gel, you'll get a better idea if you see them shoot clay molds as far as what a 5.56 round will do to your ear.
Mm,
The shooter was shooting from an AR platform, so that is a 5.56 NATO round. That shit would have, just passing his face that close, would have ripped open his fucking flesh. He would have had burn marks. There would have been stippling on his face. But
yeah.
he's
Yeah.
Trump. So,
He's
the impossible
invincible.
happens.
He's invincible. Such
And
bullshit.
of course, Secret Service protocol is to allow the protectee to stand up in the middle of all of us in an insecure scene and pump his fist several times.
Insane. 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 But absolutely right, man. They definitely were not real attempts. I don't think so. I don't think so. They were
Did
just
the job
meant.
though.
Yeah,
Propagandized the shit out of the fucking country.
absolutely. And I believe the same thing happened to Adolf Hitler, by the way. They're just following a playbook. That's the crazy part. They are
Yeah.
following a real heavy playbook. And it's noticeable. So
It's built on manufactured outrage.
yeah, yeah. And that is something we will address a little bit more because I am curious about that and why people do it. Don't have it. Well, let's just say don't have any skin in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm wondering why do people troll and try their best to kind of like get other people upset if they're not getting anything out of it? Like if
They
you're
are
not,
getting something out of it.
yeah, I suppose
Misery
so.
loves company.
Yeah, that's true. That
Most
is
people
true.
if you got enough time, don't get me wrong. I might sit here one day on Facebook and get into a little back and forth with a nigga, and I'll essentially start trolling because he's an idiot. But if you're sitting around all day and your main motivation is to find somebody to annoy the shit out of and just to be an asshole with, you got a problem.
You got a problem. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
My nigga. Come on,
It's
we
true.
adults. You could be making money right now.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
could be enjoying the company of, whoever you find attractive right now. You could be fucking learning a hobby, but no, you're sitting here trying to figure out what's the best way to own the libs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That trolling is wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that people placate to it and try their best to do it because they've seen how effective it is to just get people riled up. But
Yeah.
my opinion, and it has been my opinion for a minute, which is, yo, I think that those people have some serious like mental and emotional issues and they don't know how to handle it. So they
Yes.
just lash out.
Yes.
And I'm of the belief that you're going to get some people that are actually, you're going to get some people that are actually really honest, really straightforward, and they're going to be, telling you like, this is the reason why I have this. This is the reason why I have this opinion. This is the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I think this way. You're going to get some of that. But overall, the majority of people that I've run into that do all that stuff online, they
Doing it to
don't
troll.
they're just doing it to troll. And now that makes it harder for people online because I'll tell you this, right? I've had a conversation with whatchamacallit again. I've had a conversation with somebody online on Instagram, and it was about a video that was basically about Raven Simone. And she was basically stating, like, oh yeah, I'm American. Like, I'm not African American, I'm not black, I'm
Yeah.
just American. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. You could say whatever you want to say. My opinion I wrote on there was like, she sounds confused because every other ethnicity in America realizes that they are something else. And that's okay. And to
Well, I
separate your
don't even think that it's that we realize that we're something else. They put that yoke of being a hyphenated American on us.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Notice that the only ones who aren't hyphenated are the European ones.
Exactly. There's a reasoning for that. There's a reasoning for that. Absolutely, I agree. And that's what I'm saying is like,
The reasoning that I'm sorry to cut you off, that hyphen,
go
I
ahead.
just had one of these epiphany moments. Because you are minus. You are that minus American. You are
Mm-hmm.
less, right? So you are native minus American.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. That definitely plays a major role. Plays a major role. That game that they play with who claims to be American, who is American, and who's not. And I could tell you, man, they are doing it for a long time. They've been doing it for a long
Yeah.
time. But I still think, I'm of the belief, because the person that responded to me said something interesting. They said, I get these text messages. Sorry. Rewind it back. She basically said, well, my parents were here. They were Native Americans and African, and they were here before the settlers, before this, before that, and all this and all that. That's great, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that at one point or another, your descendants came in from Africa.
Well,
You're still saying you
when
have African
when
descendants.
her family got here, what she's trying to say is that she didn't come from slaves. That's she was trying to find a nice
That's
way
what
to
she's
say
trying to
that.
say. But
But
yeah.
but hold on. It don't matter whether or not she comes from slaves, because in the 40s and the 50s, her family, her predecessors didn't get an exemption at the all-white fucking lunch counter. Wait, you guys were
Yes.
here before the slave ships? You can come and sit down and eat. That didn't
Mm-hmm.
happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's one of us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I found one of the things, the major thing though, that I really have to say is I was actually saying to this person, I said, I understand what you're saying, but you need to do more research because whether you like it or not, your descendants are African. Sorry to say it to you. At one point or another, they came over, and I said, you just need to do more research. And this is what I said, but I don't want to argue with you online via debate, but I suggest you do more research. This
Mm-hmm.
person wrote me back a damn full 2, 3 paragraphs, more than two, probably like 3 paragraph long explanation about slavery, about all this stuff that I already know. And I'm just like, oh, please spare me. Because it's very clear that you don't understand everything yet. You think because you read a few books that you have an understanding. You don't. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more going on than what you think.
The
Because
worst
they even
thing
have books.
the worst thing is when people are confidently wrong.
Yeah, that's difficult, man. It's difficult. I got to tell you, one of the most difficult things. One of the most difficult
Speaking of
things.
being confidently wrong, gonna segue here.
Sure.
Did you hear about all the voter fraud that they found in Georgia?
None
No, they did. They found a lot of voter fraud, bro.
for
Come
Republicans.
on. Cut Cujo.
And
Cujo.
I didn't hear about this,
You
man. I
didn't
didn't hear about
hear?
it. Tell me. Tell me. Tell
Elon
me.
Musk had pre-filled out ballots mailed to thousands of people in Georgia as highly
You kidding
illegal.
me?
No,
When did you find it? When did you get this news? When did you get
I
this,
read it
man?
this morning. Read it this morning.
I must have missed this. I missed it.
Yeah. So apparently, Mr. Musk and one of his PACs, super PACs or whatever, were paper mailing. Remember, they don't want you to vote by mail, but they were sending
Nope.
pre-filled out voting cards to voters that they were expected to then just take in and scan.
That's insane, bro.
And in the spirit of
That's insane.
Schmucky Chucky, you know what he's going to get for punishment? A sternly worded letter. These are the same people, these are the same people that want to put ICE outside of fucking voting locations to make sure no illegals are voting.
Yeah, hustlers, bro, hustlers. Straight up, straight up. Takes a lot, man. I gotta tell you, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to catch these people in their bullshit, and then these are the things that we're catching. Imagine the
Well,
stuff
but
we're
see,
not
that's the
catching.
thing. And we've talked about this before. Muzzle velocity, right? They do a whole bunch of shit so that the stuff you don't catch still lands. You're
Mm.
so busy trying to deflect every pellet that the scatter shot, some of it gets around you.
Yep, right on, man. That's exactly what's happening. And we're trying our best to make sure we could even put together this whole Epstein thing, and it's very clear. We already know that there's a massive amounts of corruption, and we know some of the people in there. We know who they are, but
Dude, and the thing
nothing
is
is
that
going to happen.
the corruption is the layer, not that corruption is acceptable, but it is the socially acceptable layer of the scandal. There's a whole other socially unacceptable layer of the scandal that we're not
Hmm.
doing anything about. So why does anyone think we would do anything about the corruption if we would not do anything about the fucking molestation of children?
Yeah, yeah. But
Sad.
this is,
It's a sad
you
state.
know,
And I know a lot of Democrats are going to try to run on this, but dude, if they get into office and they don't do anything about it, there's going to be a huge problem in this country because they're going to try to run on the non-transparency around Epstein, right? And they're going to peel away some of those people who were on board with MAGA because they wanted to save the children. But if they don't do
yeah,
anything, they're just going to create more pissed off Americans. And we're
yeah.
watching the
I
whole
just
world.
don't.
We're watching the whole world. I'm sorry, man. But we're watching the whole world prosecute these fucking people, or at least attempt to prosecute them and do these things publicly. And we've got our fucking attorney general telling us there's nothing else in the files.
Yeah, or saying something that I thought was really major, which was if I prosecute people, everybody's going to jail, or the whole system will crumble. And I'm like,
Burn
yeah,
it down.
down, yeah, please, for me, for everybody, like by all means necessary,
So I
torch
saw
it.
somebody's comment on that, and it was, "Don't threaten me with a good time."
Don't threaten me with a good time, folks.
Dude, if the
You know what I'm
cost is
saying?
if the cost is having to vote out some of my politicians that I actually like, get rid of all of them. Start over.
Agreed, agreed, man, agreed.
It's a shit show. And
And
it's
it
only
ain't.
going to get shittier.
Yeah, it ain't gonna stop, my dude. It's just gonna get worse.
Yeah,
I ain't
there's
gonna
there's
lie to
no
you.
better there's no better road forward, right? We either don't find out or we do find out. But neither one of those are better than right now.
Nah, nah. Right now we're in a jam. This is a mess. This is a mess. So we got work to do, man. We'll put our efforts up and we'll see what happens. But I do think the small things that we are doing, we got to keep doing them on a
Mhm.
consistent basis.
Yes, sir. That's really the key to fighting any of this at all, is to find the thing that you are capable of doing it doing and doing it consistently.
Mm, mm. That's the truth. So that's why I say you got to look for alternatives outside of Google and all that other stuff. We gotta really
Hmm.
figure that out, man. Got to figure it out outside of Amazon and all these other tools that we use. That the Ring camera, like all of them, they have to be
Have you heard
defunded.
about the flock cameras?
No, that's a
They've
new
got
one to
these
me.
cameras. So these flock cameras are being pretty much distributed all over the place. A lot of law enforcement and municipalities are using them for traffic cameras and things like that. But they're like openly hackable.
Mm.
Like not even hard to hack. Most of them are still on like factory presets.
That kills me when people do that. They get their wireless router and everything.
No, but this isn't people doing it. These are municipalities. These are police
I know,
departments
I
putting this
know.
shit up.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's very clear that they don't even have the help, like,
You
or the right
motherfuckers got
technology.
somebody's nephew running IT.
You know what I'm saying? It's wild, man.
Damn, son. Well,
It's
there'll
wild.
always be jobs for people like me and you, brother.
You ain't lying. That's the truth, bro. That's the truth. So I don't know, man. But what you think, man? I think you said a good one today. I think a good one that you mentioned was, hey, if the system all burns down because of the Epstein files,
Burn it
don't
all
threaten me
down.
with a burn it
Yeah,
all
don't.
down. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Here's the fucking match. I'll get you the can of gasoline too. Burn it
Absolutely,
all
bro.
down.
Down. Let it catch a fire. You
Yeah,
know?
dude, I'm not saying that what if this person is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Same, man.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
that is a moral line that I can't even I'm so far from crossing that moral line that I don't even see it.
It's gone to me. It's been gone.
Man, yeah, I've seen people trying to do the what if game, or if it was somebody I don't care. I don't care. I don't at this point. Just get rid of all of them and let's start not something new, but let's start with people who aren't corrupted already.
I think you make a good point there. And one of the things I think we're going to have to work on and envision is a better system.
Hmm.
Just a better overall system, man. No escaping it, no getting around it. Just a better system,
Yeah, one that wasn't created for rich white men by rich white.
basically. Basically.
What? Damn, that sounds like a line from from the Don Illuminati album, right?
I don't even know that
This
album.
that gang, that's the fucking last Tupac album.
Yeah, I barely listen to Tupac. Yeah, I barely listen to Tupac. I appreciated Tupac, but I didn't listen to him. I never liked him as great as a lyricist as other people did.
He wasn't a good not he was a decent lyricist. He wasn't a bad
Yeah, like I
lyricist.
said, he was a decent lyricist, but as far as his persona and what he projected and what he was talking, what he was, pushing for, I'm all for that. 110%. All the way. All the way. I appreciated that about him. Not too many artists would stand up for certain things like he did.
No.
Anyway, man, let's wrap it
Salute.
up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, bro. Yo, In The Cypher Podcast, folks. Like, share, subscribe. Like to hope y'all have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your night and all that good stuff. You feel me?
Have yourselves a good night. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Peace.